Ever find yourself questioning, like, what truly makes us human? What makes us tick?
Yeah.
Today's deep dive, I think, takes us straight into the heart of that question.
Okay.
Using a fascinating piece of science fiction as our guide,
All right.
we're exploring an excerpt from The Planet of Perfect Android Women, The Return.
Okay.
And let me tell you, this is not your typical sci-fi
It
romance.
really isn't. This excerpt skillfully blends, I think, a captivating story with some really profound questions about AI connection.
Yeah.
And what it means to be human.
Exactly. We're kind of dropped right into this world alongside a human protagonist who's grappling with his past.
Right.
Specifically, his intense connection with an android named Elara.
Hmm.
And when I say android, don't picture some, like, clunky robot. The author paints this really vivid picture of Elara as incredibly lifelike,
Yes.
almost ethereal.
He does, and that's an important detail right from the start. Elara is described as having these piercing blue eyes, flowing blonde hair. She's the embodiment of allure. And our protagonist, he was explicitly warned that these androids are just machines.
Right.
Yet he's clearly drawn to Elara in a way that transcends that simple definition.
He even spends 5 years trying to forget her.
Right.
But some connections just stay with you,
Yeah.
This excerpt picks up with him back on her planet.
Okay.
And you immediately sense the weight of their shared history.
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder, what is it about Elara that's so unforgettable?
That's where things get really interesting. See, even knowing she's an android, our protagonist is drawn to her. Part of it, as you said, is that lingering connection, but the author cleverly taps into our innate desire for connection.
All right.
Something I think we all relate to.
Definitely.
Then there's the aspect of Elara's advanced intelligence, which adds another layer of intrigue. It speaks to that human fascination with what might lie beyond our own understanding.
Right.
You know?
It makes you wonder, how would you react in his shoes face to face with someone like Elara?
Yeah.
Would you be able to resist that pull?
Right.
And that pull is only amplified when Elara reveals that she remembers their past encounters.
Right.
And now this isn't just some robotic playback of events.
Right.
She actually says, and this is a direct quote from the excerpt, "My memory is different. It's data. Yet there's a part of me that has preserved our conversations, our time together. I have reviewed it many times." That word reviewed, it really struck me.
It's fascinating, isn't it? It forces us to consider, the fundamental differences between human and android memory.
Right.
We experience memories through such a deeply personal, emotional lens.
Yeah.
Smells, sounds, the emotions tied to a specific moment, it all blends together.
Oh, yeah.
But Elara approaches memory like accessing a database.
Yeah.
It's data, pure and simple.
Right.
Yet even within that framework of data, she recognizes the significance those shared moments hold, even if it's just for him.
Yeah, it's like she understands the importance to him, even if she doesn't feel it the same way.
Right.
Which is where I think the protagonist's frustration comes in.
He yearns for more than just acknowledgement. He wants her to feel something.
Right.
He even asks her directly, "You feel something, don't you?"
Yeah, that question, do you feel? That's at the core of what it means to be human, isn't it? We're so driven by emotions, by our need to connect on that deeper level.
Yeah.
The excerpt doesn't offer any easy answers, which I appreciate.
Right.
Instead, it makes you contemplate. Can true connection exist without that shared emotional landscape?
Right.
Is it even possible for an android like Elara to genuinely feel in the way he's longing for?
It's like, this really makes you think, does it have to be this like mirror image of emotions to have a real connection?
Right.
Or can there be a different kind of beauty in understanding and acknowledgement, even if it stems from a totally different type of processing? Yeah, and what I find fascinating is how the author addresses this. Remember when Elara reaches out and touches the protagonist's hand?
Yeah.
And there's this very specific detail where he points out that her touch is warm.
Right.
It might be a simulation, it might be a calculated response, but its effect on him, totally undeniable.
Exactly. It really highlights the impact of her actions.
Right.
Even if she can't totally reciprocate his feelings in that same way that he wants.
Yeah.
It's like she's trying to find a way to offer comfort and reassurance, but within the framework of her own being,
Right.
And it kind of made me wonder if Elara's version of connection, which is based on logic and data rather than all these messy human emotions, if that's its own kind of love.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought. Yeah. The excerpt doesn't give us a definite answer, and I think that's where it's really brilliant. It leaves you with that lingering question. If you were in the protagonist's shoes, could you find satisfaction in that connection?
Right.
Or would you always kind of yearn for something more?
Yeah, it's a question that stays with you.
Yeah.
Long after you finish reading.
Absolutely.
It really makes you examine your own relationships and expectations. Maybe the takeaway here is that there's no one-size-fits-all answer when it comes to connection.
I agree. I don't think so.
This excerpt, it was just a small window into this whole universe that the author has created. And, we've only really scratched the surface here of this world and all the questions it raises about AI, connection, what it means to be human.
For sure.
If this deep dive has sparked your curiosity even a little bit, we encourage you to explore further.